There are plenty of ways for your character to get hurt in Star Citizen. Combat, yes, a mining accident perhaps, or even some stairs taken too quickly. And for those times when you need fixing up, you might like a medical bed, like the one in the C8R Pisces Rescue variant. But with only a Tier 3 medical bed rather than the best alternative, how does the C8R perform in-game today? I'm Forrester, and this video will explore the answer to that question by reviewing the currently flyable C8R Pisces, which is described on the Star Citizen website as a medical ship. If you've seen other reviews on this channel, then you probably know what to expect, with this video following the usual format. It's split into 5 sections, starting with a ship tour, assessing combat performance, reviewing handling and visibility, looking at the operating costs before finally summarising. As always, I've included timestamps in the video description in case you want to skip ahead. And if you're one of the many people watching who isn't yet subscribed to the channel, you might consider it so you can be notified of future Star Citizen videos as they go live. And we'll start the tour for the C8R by approaching from the left or port side at the rear of the ship. There's a button on the right or starboard side which deploys the rear ramp, and this takes you up into the rearmost section of the C8R. Closing the ramp, there's a nice medical style decal on the ramp itself. In this rear section there's component access for a power plant, coolers and a jump drive. Moving forward into the middle section, this is the medical area of the Rescue Pisces. There's 2 storage bins, one marked patient storage and one marked crew storage. These take you into the inventory of the ship. There's a small fridge area underneath with some useful food and drinks and medical goodies in there, as well as some decorative medical facilities like syringes, gauze, all in neat boxes. On the opposite side, which is the right or starboard side, there's the patient bed. For a player able to walk, they can lie down into this bed themselves and access the healing medical facilities aboard the Pisces. For a downed player, somebody else can help them into the bed. On the right or starboard side, there's a digital medical assistant which a regular player could use to heal a downed player in the bed. And on the left or port side, there's a chair for a second person. There's more component access, and then right at the front of the ship is the pilot's chair. To preempt some people who will mention it in the comments section, yes, the C8R is not a combat ship per se, it's there to provide medical support. But as there are some defences and armaments attached, it's probably still helpful to share what the combat experience is like. The armament is a very simple 2 size 1 Bulldog laser repeaters on size 1 gimbal mounts. You get a few seconds of firing with a capacitor, and then a quick reload to be firing again. Those 2 size 1 weapons have relatively low damage output, but against the smallest of targets that's enough, especially since the gimbals allow a little bit of flexibility with your aiming. The C8R also holds 2 size 1 missiles, which isn't much, but does add an additional threat to the smallest of ships, and with a fairly quick lock-on time and somewhat short engagement range, remains useful even in the melee. Defensively, the C8R carries a single size 1 shield generator, which doesn't do much to protect the ship. If you start taking fire, you'll want to break away rather than sit in the firing line for too long. If things do go wrong, the 4 minutes and 35 seconds reclaim timer isn't too long to wait to get back into the action. Visibility in the C8R, in line with the regular Pisces, is relatively good, with strong sightlines out to the front, sides and above. As the ship is fairly low profile, the reduced visibility beneath becomes less of a factor in landing. In terms of handling, the C8R is fairly manoeuvrable, but not as much as other ships of a similar size, so don't expect something quite as nippy as an M50 for example. But then, when you attach a big useful area in the back of the ship, that seems like a reasonable trade-off to lose a bit of manoeuvrability. By default, the SCM limiter sits at 164 meters per second, at which speed the Pisces is fairly controllable, perhaps drifting a little through tighter turns in atmosphere. It's worth adding, however, that the C8R does have a generous boost pool before hitting the red zone. The top speed of the Rescue Pisces is 1,150 meters per second, which is fairly quick, although outrun by dedicated interceptors and light fighters. The stock quantum drive is the Expedition, which is not especially fast, but is probably worth keeping, owing to giving range to cross the entire Stanton system. As one of the smallest ships in game, the Pisces is incredibly cheap to rearm, repair and refuel, costing maybe tens or low hundreds of Alpha UEC. Moreover, those costs can be covered through a variety of ways, including low-end combat contracts or even box delivery contracts for those who are comfortable to have boxes in the back not attached to the cargo grid, as the Rescue Pisces doesn't have one. Then of course there is the possibility of medical beacons. This is a difficult area because whilst the functionality exists in game, there's a big element of risk attached as to whether there is a genuine need for medical assistance or if the beacon is simply being placed to attract another player to be attacked. Moreover, until Death of a Spaceman mechanics come into play, there often isn't a great need to request medical support, as it's often easier just to accept death and respawn instantly at your chosen medical facility. That said, the option is there to make cash through providing medical services to players. By way of loadout changes, I'd perhaps swap out the shield generator to the FR66 for slightly improved defensive performance, but then probably leave the rest of the components as stock for my preference. There's a lot to like about the Rescue Pisces. It's easy to fly and easy to spawn, able to be called at all major ship terminals but also on tiny pads planetside. That also makes it very easy to load the Pisces into other ships with a large enough hangar bay, ships like the Carrack which make a natural home for it, but also some other ships that don't carry their own medical facilities, like the Hercules, where the C8R is able to offer something more to such ships. The onboard fridge stocks food and drink without having to buy it, which is a small bonus to the crew aboard, and the style of the ship is nice too. The inside is clean and sterile, a little like the Carrack, and the outside is a bold red medical style. There are even ambulance-type lights on the top to show that you're in a hurry and on a rescue mission. The obvious pairing for the Rescue Pisces is for bunker runners, with FPS players able to heal minor injuries, or for a couple of players to even be able to provide limited support to downed combatants by dragging them back to the bed. The second chair aboard spells out this two-person crewing niche as an option. As a Tier 3 medical bed is the poorest type, there are no respawn facilities aboard, which means that the Pisces is instead relegated to healing operations. And the main challenge in that regard is the limited usefulness for such things. That's not to say the Rescue Pisces isn't useful. In fact, for experienced FPS combat players, the ability to heal up after a fight is a real plus. But for downed players, you're reliant on somebody else to get you back to the bed, and whilst you could pop a beacon down, it's invariably an easier experience to simply backspace out, at least perhaps until we see the Death of a Spaceman mechanic in the future. Likewise, for the altruistic who would want to fly around the verse providing medical support to players, the Pisces would let you do that. But right now there are as many bad actors as genuine patients, and that's exacerbated by the fact that there's really no reason to wait around for a long time to be rescued. Moreover, unlike the NPC contracts, you'd find yourself waiting around on the off chance that a player drops a beacon, rather than having the option to dive right into the gameplay as exists with other loops. At an in-game price of 918,000 Alpha UEC, the C8R is more than double the price of the regular Pisces in order to equip the bed in the back. Still, it's the cheapest option for a medical bed in-game. Out of game, you'll be footing a $65 bill to pick up the Rescue Pisces. So is that worth it? Well, that probably depends on how much you need healing but not respawn facilities. For experienced bunker runners, or for those who want to provide healing support to others in the verse, possibly, and it's certainly plausible that the C8R could become more and more useful as time goes on. But for most other players, it's likely to be an expensive way to own a Pisces compared to the regular variant price. But do you agree? I know that the Rescue Pisces is a popular variant, so I look forward to reading your thoughts in the video comments. As always, if you're not yet subscribed, you might consider it if you got this far to give YouTube the nudge to suggest similar videos to you in the future. And it would also be really helpful to me if you would press that like or dislike button to guide me as to what videos you're enjoying the most, so I can focus on making the most relevant videos for you in the future. Otherwise, and as always, thank you for watching.